I don't know about you boys, but I was telling Belle, it's kind of days sometimes you just wish I worked in sports.
Yeah.
You know? It is, it's actually fitting. It's 9/11. Because there's that kind of feel. You know what I mean? Little shock, little numbness.
And a worry about what's next.
Yeah. It is, it is, I don't think people realize, some people out there do, but maybe an older generation, because they saw Charlie and Fox, but the way he had with the younger generation, I spent last night, first of all, I did like a gazillion shows, didn't go to bed. I got up at 12:30 or whatever and go to bed till about 10:30. Didn't leave my studio till about then. And on top of that, in between, I was talking to my little brothers and sisters who have all grown up with Charlie. In fact, he was the big reason my brother is really into politics. It's a huge reason for that. And my sister and my brother-in-law. I mean, that's, because, and if you're, because I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but we're a little older than probably his audience. And his reach amongst the youth. And I tweeted this today, and I mean it wholeheartedly. I think without Charlie, Trump doesn't get to the White House. And it had nothing to do with just the last election cycle. When they started that back in, 2012? When they started that, him and I think was his name, Bill Montgomery, and they started doing this thing. It was a grassroots thing built, and he doesn't get enough because of the, was he a provocateur at time? Of course. Did he entertain and put mustard on stuff? Absolutely. Welcome to the world that everybody lives in. But you know what he did that he doesn't get the credit for? Is Turning Point USA, is building that thing there that gave voice to everybody. Not just the right, but the left. Not just people who are believers in God, but I watched something, and I don't know if you guys have seen this, where he has a debate with a Satanist. And it was fascinating. And a lot of the guys and some gals in our business, when they go out and do these kind of things, they're looking for clicks, likes, when they're trying, they may do it for 2 hours taking, people on stage and they debate them back and forth. They're looking for stuff that they could do and embarrass and look like they've won something. Charlie was never like that. Charlie treated everybody cordial. Charlie treated everybody in a way that's what our founding fathers want. What do you have to say? Let me see if my ideas are better than your ideas. Let's debate it. And he was always open to listening, which is so important. And it was, because yesterday we had Scott on and it just happened. So Spicky's on here. He comes on and it really just was breaking, like the break before we came. And then that whole time we weren't sure what was going on. We weren't sure what was going on. And then finally I had gotten home and I had to go live and redo my shows and everything. And he had passed away. And it was my wife came in. My wife's not very political. And the tears that were coming down because of who he was, because my wife is very, very, she's in the Bible all day. She saw not a person who had a voice in politics, but she saw a believer. She saw a man of faith. She saw a husband and a father get taken away. And it upset her because one of the things, his pastor out there in Arizona did like a live yesterday. And one of the things that he talks about is they text every day. And it was very interesting because the last text he shared, essentially, because I don't have it pulled up here, is Charlie was kind of moving away from the politics because he wanted to, his faith was the thing. He wanted to be more about the faith. He was almost looking to do, what can I do to bring young people to the Lord. What can I do now that I've done this? What can I do? And a couple weeks ago, he was on a podcast, and they asked him actually about this.
How do you want to be remembered? I mean, if I die, everything just goes away. How would you, if you could be associated with one thing, how would you want to be remembered?
I want to be remembered for courage for my faith. That would be the most important thing. Most important thing is my faith in my life.
Most important thing is my faith. And he wanted to move in that direction. There is no doubt in this country right now, we have a political divide that is, I've done so many interviews and talked to, to so many people about this in the last 15, 18 hours. I said, before me, you may have to go back to like the 60s, 68. You had some of those things, the Medgar Evers and the, Malcolm X and of course MLK, and you can start going on. But that kind of political assassination and that kind of tension that was palpable. I must have talked to several people yesterday as they thought they were going to go get armed and go do something. I'm like, first and foremost, you're upset because people are celebrating Charlie being shot and being killed. You know what Charlie would say? It's the right to do so. And trying to do something that you think you need to do as some sort of payback in Charlie's name, he wouldn't want that. That's not who he was. Because the minute you do that, you cross a line. And, you'll probably hear this all day. Did we cross the Rubicon? Did we get to a point where we crossed something here where we went from day to night? I'd like to think we did. But it's unsettling out there. The emails I got, the text I've been getting on my national show and stuff, it is unsettling. I was telling Belle, my uncle, who is, first of all, love him to death, little emotional at times, very much on the right, very huge, not just in size, and he'll tell you that, but huge in love. He loves Charlie. And he was so upset and so angry. And I was texting him at 3 a.m. I told Belle, I finally had to get him off the subject by sending him hundreds of funny kitty videos and weird animal videos to make him laugh because he was so angry. And it was a visceral anger. And I'm like, dude, I get it. But the minute you give into something like that, his thing that he was building, his thing that he was working for, his love of the Constitution, his love of, first and foremost, being a peacekeeper, being a Christian, a man of faith, his love of all of those things in America, the minute you give into that, all of that stuff goes away. He built something that is going to get stronger. He built something that is going to blossom and bloom in ways that he couldn't imagine. And to do something because you think it's in his name that we need to know. You need to do is carry on. We need to go out there. We need to talk about the things that we differ in and have cordial conversations, see people as human beings. Understand that we don't see eye to eye in everything. Even people who agree don't see eye to eye in everything. We live in the greatest country in the world, and the number one thing we have when it comes to our Constitution, right, that First Amendment, that thing right there, is the pressure valve. You got to take the pressure off. And we need to do that. That's what he was doing. He wanted debate. He wanted conversation. He wanted to go out and speak to people and have them give their ideas to him and vice versa. I mean, am I right or am I right?
You're right, man. I mean, he wanted everybody out of their echo chambers. And I think that's one of the reasons we're where we at today. We are where we are at today. Because everybody has just retreated into, just being comfortable because I don't want to hear somebody else's opinion.
Yeah. When I came on the station, I'm independent as it gets, right? I've got some ideas over here, some ideas over there. I love everybody. I do, right? From the wackadoos out there that we always joke about to the hardcore mag, I love everybody and I love their ideas. And I want us to have an exchange of ideas. I want us not to be afraid to have our ideas challenged. And maybe if our ideas don't stand the test of what we think they should because we didn't have all the information or we were given partial information or somebody even lied to us, that we can stand up and be big enough to go, oh, there's something else. That's why he did this. That's why he did this. And you want the definition of terrorism is what this was. Terrorism is using the means of violence to change government policy, using that as a fear. This is what this is. You can't let them win. And having conversation, having vigorous debate, learning about other people, seeing people as a neighbor, as a citizen of Earth, till the aliens come. That's important. We don't see each other that way. We don't hang out. We don't commune with one another. We're afraid. We're afraid of everything. We got a younger generation who was raised, in this way where mom and dad did everything for them. They never faced really any difficulties. And when they did, they didn't know what to do. So they lash out like babies. We've got a mental illness problem in this country. And it's not just somebody on the street who's hooked on drugs and stuff. It's people that are struggling weekly because they've put so much craziness in their world of identities and been told thousands of different things. And no, we need a reset and we need a conversation. We need to take the temperature down in this country. Because we still are that beacon of hope. We still are all of those things. We still are all of those things that Charlie thought we should be. And we need to be. We do. And I think the more that we take a step back and say, what else can we take away from this besides strengthening Turning Point, bringing younger people into debate and conversations and that stuff? What else can we do? It is about getting back to being human again, humanizing one another. We've got to do that. Too much discourse out there, too much that is more about show and less about reality. A lot of stuff to get to today. Would you take your text? I'll get up there on a little bit in the text thing. We've been doing a lot of stuff around here. My wife sent a picture of Chris because she was watching on the YouTube. I said, you should watch Chris. And she sent a picture. She goes, I can't watch Chris anymore. She goes, make me cry. She goes, give him a big hug for me. And I said, I will. That guy's the salt of the earth. I'm telling you guys right now, he is hurting. And he did a hell of a show today. That was amazing. It was. A lot of stuff we're going to get to. We're just talking about 9/11. We're going to talk about where we were and could this even, not could the disaster happen again, not could the terror attack happen again, could we happen the way we happened again after 9/11? Among other things today. Chad Benson Show, Super Talk, 997. I was watching some of Chris earlier, and he's like some of the people trolling and stuff. And it's this business. I was joking yesterday with, I think it was you, right? It was Matt. I said, dude, this business, you could say I'm only going to talk about gardening. And somebody would be like, the way you do tulips is wrong. I hate you.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't. You could say, hi, have a great Monday after a Sunday night. People will come on there and go, yeah, it's easy for you to say, white male, you suck. And just like, it doesn't matter. People are pissed and angry. And if you want to be pissed and angry at me, I'm fine with that. It's where we cross the line. This is what happened yesterday. And this anger, we joke about our friend Kylie who says all those crazy things. And I go on there every once in a while and I defend her saying the things that I don't agree with because there are people go on there and say the most heinous things about her. If you guys don't know who she is, we do White Woman Wednesday and she says just stuff that it drives us all crazy, but it's fun.
It's comical.
It is.
It's so ridiculous. It's comical.
It is. It's like every white person in the world needs to apologize to every black person because you are racist, even if you're not racist. And if you married a black man or a black woman, it's only because you're racist. And she says stuff like that. The way that people go after her, though, and again, I don't agree with her. She's a right to say it, but also, why do you feel you have to go out and to say horrific things to everybody all the time? When did you get and Mike Tyson said it best, it's easy to say that when nobody's going to punch you in the face. That world changes when you notice people they're not the same in person as they are on the keyboard warriors. But we've stopped, and maybe a lot of it has to do with our digital side. We've stopped looking at human beings as human beings. You're just X's and O's. Which is, crazy to think. But, watching people celebrate this, the algorithms of hate matter.
It's kind of like the song. I mean, it struck me yesterday, that song by Billy Joel. Charlie's assassination is like others back through the years. And I remember Billy Joel's song, in the 80s, We Didn't Start the Fire.
Yes.
I think the fire evil has always been. But what I think is different now is that social media is now the gasoline.
Yeah,
It is just fueling it.
It is the gasoline and the algorithms. Remember, too, and this is something, it only feeds you what you like.
Right.
And there's that old saying, right? You have a bad steak, you tell 10 people. We are a nation that it can be grumpy, and we like, there's been television stations, I'm sure you've heard this, Ken, who've only wanted to do good news and happy news, and their ratings end up sucking. If it bleeds, it leads. There's something about that kind of rubbernecking doomsday. It's called doom scrolling for a reason. And it is sad that we're in this position where, as we look back, not only on yesterday, but 24 years ago, all of you that were alive, some of you listening may not have been. You were young. Man, you ever talk to somebody about 9/11 and you realize, oh, my old producer, Steve, we're talking about 9/11 one day. He goes, I was 3 or whatever. I'm like, what? Yeah, I don't remember anything. I'm like, it's crazy to think that, right? Because we think all of us, just like we all knew. I wasn't there for Pearl Harbor, but I knew it. So, because I'm not that old. But to think about where we've come in those 24 years, and like you said, that fire's been there, but social media has put it on blast big time. We're going to talk about 9/11. In particular, the day after and the subsequent few days after, and what happened to us. Could that happen again after an attack? Because social media has changed everything. If you're missing the show, make sure you grab the podcast. Chad Benson Show, Super Talk 997. Hope you guys are doing well today. Talk a lot about Charlie. Also talk about what happened those many years ago. It's hard to believe that it's almost been a quarter of a century. When you put it that way, it makes you feel really old. Everybody remembers certain things. I think we're all going to remember where we were yesterday. I was at home when I was a kid when Reagan got shot. The Challenger blew up. Remember when Reagan got shot? You just kind of looked at me, Bell, like you don't even remember that.
Yeah, I was in school. So how old were you?
Oh, I was home pretending to be sick.
Oh,
yeah. Come on, dude.
Well, it probably, were you living in California?
Yeah.
You probably hadn't gone to school yet.
No, I don't.
'Cause I was in first period.
Yeah.
Here in I was in Central Time in East Texas, and I was in first period in the 7th grade when it happened. I remember the principal coming over the intercom.
What'd they say?
Basically, the principal came on and said students and staff just want to, basically just want to let you know that the president of the United States has been shot in an attempted assassination. And I remember some kids in the classroom started clapping.
Really?
And the teacher immediately admonished all of them and said,
Wow,
we ain't doing that.
What grade were you in?
I was in the 7th grade.
Wow. That seems a little politically active at that age to be that angry.
Well, they were probably just listening to their parents.
Or probably going, oh, my God, we're going to go home. Because there was a lot of that, right?
Yeah.
Certain things.
Yeah.
And I think everybody remembers, if you're old enough, where we were on this day.
We are back at 9 o'clock Eastern time on this Tuesday morning, and we're back with dramatic pictures of an accident that has happened just a short time ago. You're looking at the World Trade Center in Lower Manhattan, where just a few minutes ago we're told that a plane, some reports are that it was a small commuter plane, crashed into the upper floors of one of the Twin Towers. You can see fire and flames or smoke billowing from that tower. There is a gaping hole on the north side of the building. That's the side you're seeing to the left-hand side of your screen right now, and other damage to the west side of that building, which is to the right side of your screen. This, of course, happened just before the morning commute, before people were heading into their offices, and while I'm sure some people were already at work, immediately there's speculation or cause for concern. This is the World Trade Center that was the center of a terrorist bombing some years ago. So the questions have to be asked, was this purely an accident, or could this have been an intentional act?
So that's how it started. Remember that? And they had the helicopters flying around, and they were trying to figure out what the hell's going on. Because a lot of people thought it was a small Cessna or something.
Yeah.
And then within seconds, it changed.
Matt, I've never seen any. It looks like a movie. I saw a large plane, like a jet, going immediately headed directly into the World Trade Center. It just flew into it, into the other tower, coming from south to north. I watched the plane fly into the World Trade Center. It was a jet. It was a very large plane. It was going fast. It went past the Ritz-Carlton Hotel that's being built in Battery Park. It flew right past it, almost hit it, and then went in.
This is so shocking, of course, to everybody watching.
I've never seen anything like it. It literally flew itself into World Trade Center.
Obviously now we move from what appears to have, there it is right there.
Again, I'm looking from south to north, and it went into the one on the right.
That appeared to be at least a 727. We saw it a second ago. Here comes the videotape that we just showed you. You will see what appears to be a large plane. It could be a 727 right there, maybe even bigger, flying right into the side of the World Trade Center.
It was at least a 727.
And then that's when our world changed. I mean, it changed because, we had Beirut, we had, several Kenya, we had several places that had been hit that were not on our soil. Just a few months earlier, it's kind of when people started to pay attention, or at least heard the name Osama bin Laden and Al-Qaeda because of the USS Cole got bombed. And it changed because we'd never had that on our soil, right? That wasn't something we had, we've had the terrorists that tried to blow it up before, the blind sheikh, but that didn't, he was here. We had obviously we'd had terrorism in the form of the likes of, Timothy McVeigh and stuff blowing, but nothing like this. And we watched it. We watched it. And I remember, I think many of you guys probably do too, you were numb. Like, what am I watching? I'm watching giant planes flying to our buildings.
Yeah, I remember my wife waking me up and telling me the World Trade Center is on fire. Like she had just gotten up and just turned on the TV, and as I came in the living room, and the minute I looked at the TV, it was the moment when the second plane went into the second tower. I remember we were watching NBC, and I see that jet go into that tower. I mean, we just stood there stunned. I was just like, is this a movie?
Yeah. Is this real? I was, we had a brokerage firm, and it was, there was like 4 or 5 of us were partners. And our buddy, Wavy Davey, hello, mate. He rolls on in because we're up early because of the East Coast. So it's, we're up at like 4:30 in the morning, 5, because we've got to be up when the markets are up. And he comes in and he's like, I was just listening to the news, and they said there's a plane that crashed into the World Trade. And this is like, I mean, we didn't have TVs. The computers weren't amazing. There was not like we think today, right? Like you got the internet, but it's nothing. We try to explain that to the kids.
Right. Yeah, it was not good like it is today.
And then we had a couple people that my partner, Lars, a couple people that he traded that he was talking to said, hey, dude, they're telling all the planes to get down. They've lost contact with several planes. So now we were in Newport Beach, California, in this, it's a 2-story apartment building. The bottom floor is ours, but our buddy lives upstairs and his wife, and he used to be a broker. We run upstairs and bang on the door. They don't know what's going on. They open it up. Here's a bunch of guys run in. We're sitting on the bed with him and his wife. They're half naked. And we're like, we're under attack. And that's when the second plane hit.
Wow.
And it was just, I can't believe I just saw that. It didn't feel real. I'm like, did I just see what I thought I saw? And that's when you knew things had changed. And they did. And Bill, where were you? Were you in the record industry?
Yeah, I was living in Dallas, and I had my radio set to. I wake up every day to Howard Stern, and I woke up with hearing Gary Delabate. Can't remember how to pronounce his name, but saying they hit the Pentagon too.
Yeah,
and Howard was an hour behind because he was tape delayed, and a few minutes after that, our Chicago rep, who was a good friend of mine, she calls me up, and she's, like, are you watching TV? And I turned the TV on, and all I saw was this loop of that second plane hitting, and I'm like, where the hell are they getting all these planes? Because they didn't explain that what was...
Because they didn't know. Yeah. I mean, it wasn't like today. In today's world... you go back, there's 1 or 2 little angles of the first plane but if you were to take our modern technology back then, the amount of videos and things we would have seen at that moment in time would have been insane. And it was so bizarre because I remember about 2:00 in the afternoon, we've been watching it all day. We're consuming it. Like normal people shouldn't consume this much of what has happened, but you can't take your eyes off of it. And I look at Lars and say, dude, I'm hungry. He's like, me too. So we go out. Nothing's open. Everything is closed. The only place that is open is a 7-Eleven. And there's about 100 people. It's out the door. And you know what's weird? Everybody was a zombie. Nobody had their heads up. It was like phones before phones.
Yeah.
And it was numbing. It was numbing. And then the other thing that was numbing, the quiet.
Yeah.
No airplanes.
Yeah, we lived at the time in Albuquerque, New Mexico. We lived right by the Sunport, which is what they call their airport. And we had just gotten used, to planes coming in and out constantly. It wasn't overbearing, but, we were close enough to the airport that they would fly over and we could see. And for 3 days, nothing. Just dead silence. It was very odd.
That was so just weird because we were kind of on that flight path too, everybody coming into Orange County Airport, John Wayne Airport, and there was nothing. And then when you look up in the sky, normally you'd see a bunch of planes. There was nothing for days.
When I was in Dallas, I lived out by the airport, and I was walking to a bar that was actually open behind my apartment complex. And I heard these, I guess they were F-16s, come screaming overhead. And I'm like, where the hell are they going? As I'm walking, I see this American Airlines plane take off, and they were escorting it because it was they had gotten special permission to fly to San Francisco to speak with the families. And that plane, but normally being next to DFW, you would just see planes
all
left
day,
and right, and that was the only one taking off.
There was, the next day, I think there was one plane that flew on the 12th. Might have been two, but one, there was a guy in Florida who works with reptiles. He got bit by an inland taipan. And there was only two places in the country to get this anti-venom because Florida didn't have any at the time. One was New York. There was nothing going in and out of New York. That was never going to happen. And the other one was San Diego. So they had to get special permission to fly the anti-venom to keep this guy alive. And they kind of escorted him along the way. But it was the most surreal thing. And I wonder to myself, and we'll pick it up after this, the subsequent days after, there was a different feeling in our country. There was a feeling that we weren't, Republican or Democrat. It wasn't Bush or Gore. It wasn't, we're America. And you didn't punch a president or a political party. You punched America, which is all of us. And I wonder if we could ever get to that again and what that would take. Talk about that coming up here in a little bit. Reach out to us across all of our social media, Rumble, which is cool, Twitch, very cool. We are also on Facebook, X, and, of course, YouTube. Make sure you like and subscribe there. It's the Chad Benson Show, Super Talk 99.7. You just hope and pray. Did you see Boise last night?
No, what happened?
There was a guy, and he was saying stuff. They beat him up. He was like celebrating.
The kid with the megaphone?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
He was celebrating.
It's vile. It's free speech. Charlie would have said that's what you're allowed to do.
Yeah.
And beating him up is even with your emotions. That's not something that's not free speech. That's violence. But I said, I feel like there's something about to pop. And it's not a good place for us to be as a nation. It isn't. It's scary to, what happened yesterday. I wouldn't want to, talking to Scott Sabicki, I wouldn't want to do this stuff, the politics. But just in the way that things are going now, the instability of people, by the way, they're out there in all shapes, colors, and sizes. And, it is bizarre when you think that you would, first of all, celebrate somebody's death, which is sickening, but it's your right to do it in America. It's the beauty of hate speech, right? It's speech. There's no such thing. People are awful. They're going to say horrible things. And you know what you do? That's their right to do it. They're not threatening to kill you or somebody else. That's their right to do it. You should always stand up for their right to. You don't have to like it. You don't. At the same time, who raised you? This loving, caring, Bell said, he goes, these people are super loving and caring. These people that are so wonderful and open, man, they got a lot of hate. But it's moral hate. See, they believe that their hate is justified. It's their truth. Yeah. I hope nothing's happening in D.C.
I do too, man.
Man, because
that's what I'm saying, man. I'm worried going forward.
Yeah.
What's going to happen next?
Me too. Ken will have the latest on that. And obviously the search, the manhunt still continues for the suspect in the assassination of Charlie Kirk. Hour number 2 straight ahead. Chad Benson, Super Talk 9 and 7.